Hey, Alex, you ready for our first guest?
Oh, man, I am. I'm excited.
Well, let's wind it up.
What you talking about? It's time for the show right now. Alex and Jordan break it down from the bezel to the crown. Every second counts, no doubt. What you talking about?
All right, it's time for another weekly segment of Smartwatch Dick, another installment of our weekly beatings. He's here to give us his corrections and, whatever he found wrong with the show. How you feeling, Jordy?
You know what? I always get a little nervous, a little bit of, nervous energy when Smartwatch Dick's coming on the show. But, I also get excited because I find him hilarious. And, as much trash as you and I talk, to quote the, podcast godfather Joe Rogan, when you talk as much trash as we do, there are probably going to be the odd mistake.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, we'll get to this real quick. Smartwatch Dick is now a contributor on WatchDNA.com. So look for some articles, smartwatch articles coming out from Smartwatch Dick soon. So good job, Smartwatch Dick. That's exciting. All right. Well, that being said,
neat picks, corrections incoming with Smartwatch Dick.
We're going to have a guest on next week, our first guest.
All right, you heard the man. Big news today. Guest on the show. I can only assume it's got to be Smartwatch Dick. It's about time I actually got to come and hang out with the guys. Let's see if I can find the other invite from Alex here.
Other than Smartwatch Dick just coming in here, slamming us and bolting on us. Yeah,
unfortunately, Smartwatch Dick isn't a guest. Smartwatch Dick is family, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, guess that's disappointing. I got all dressed up. I even got a new camera. Heck, I even wore my Garmin Venue 3 Rolex. So, I guess we'll just continue on with the show like usual.
I see you shaking your head, Jordan.
Oh, that putting a Rolex dial on that watch is. What are you doing to me? Ugh, I just threw up a bit in my mouth. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, let's hit some nitpicks.
So I think that to me is something for our watchers, our viewers, it's really cool.
This one isn't so much a nitpick as it is an opportunity. Jordan, I think you were right the first time. Watchers, not viewers. You can't pass up a pun like that. All the people looking at this right now, watchers. Looks like it's probably a Garmin Approach S60 if I had to guess. Once the weather turns and the snow is gone, we'll get a chance to swing some clubs. And Jordan, you seem surprised I knew what watch it was. Smartwatch is literally in my name. In fact, it's the only descriptor in my whole name, unless Dick is also a descriptor. But yeah, that's a Garmin Approach S60. Saw it from a mile away.
I think I bought a watch once on vacation. It was my G-Shock.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, I want to say it was California, like in the LA area. Because the only other place we were traveling around that time was we were in Indianapolis for a Colts game, but I'm pretty sure it was like in the LA area.
With a conversation about buying watches as souvenirs when you're on vacation, I don't know if a watch qualifies as a souvenir if you're not 100% sure where you actually bought it.
I don't mind having a rubber strap on.
People get ready for Linguistics 101 with Jordan.
Oh, boy.
Venezia, Nico.
I don't want to talk about this.
Anaco. Venezia, Anaco. Venezia, Anaco.
Venezia,
Anaco. Because Venice in Italian is Venezia, right? So it's just Venezia, Anico. Venezia.
I'm sorry.
I feel like we're beating a cavallo morto here at this point. That's a dead horse, you non-paisans. I think Jordan managed to pronounce Venezianico 4 different ways in his lesson there. Venezianico. Smooth.
No, I'm actually on vacation with a friend who's a doctor, and she's wearing a smartwatch because she has patience. And
to be fair, I also wear a smartwatch because of patience. my own. I like to know what's going on. I don't like to wait for information. If something's happening, I need to know right away. Also, my wife's patience. If she's going to text me, I'm going to want to get it right away to save a lot of trouble in the future.
And talk about how big the space for micro brands is. And when I say micro brands, I'm not just talking under $1,000. You know, there's brands out there that are micro brands that make watches that are in millions of dollars, but they only produce 7 a year.
Yeah, true.
I think this is more of a discussion point. Micro brand. The only thing is,
what is happening?
A year.
What is happening?
I'm not paying for any of this, and I still want my money back right now. I don't even want to know where the mic is.
That's a good point.
Hey. Oh gosh, continue.
I don't know that that's traditionally what people consider a micro brand. I think most watch people think of a micro brand as a small independent contractor, maybe making a few watches a year, but they're relatively affordable as opposed to the ultra high end luxury watches that you're kind of talking about, Jordan, that are kind of out of reach to the normal person. All right, that's it for nitpicks this week. As always, hit us on the Instagram. You got Smartwatch Dick. You got Duke Durango. You got Head Crash Chronicles. WYTA Pod. As always, my email's out there. If you want to send me a nitpick, give us a message about anything, send us some pictures. We're happy to share anything you'd like on the show, as long as it's appropriate. WYTA nitpicks at gmail.com. Now, I got to figure out what's going on here. It's getting awfully cold in my house. I think something's wrong with my thermostat.
What are we doing? What's happening?
I'm really glad it ended there because I didn't want to know what the next shot would have been.
Oh man, well, thanks for that, Smartwatch Dick. That was fantastic. Oh my lord. Oh,
thanks for that.
Well, and you know, to his credit, yeah, I was a little surprised that he could just spot that, you know, that Garmin model number like that. That's something that those, you know, the ultra, you know, guys like Nico Leonard do with Rolex model numbers. So yeah, to hear a smartwatch guy do it, I was a little bit, you know, I guess, and maybe it's because to me they all look the same, so I don't know how you tell one model from the other. But yeah,
I won't lie, when I
pulled that model out.
When I was watching the episode back, when I noticed your reaction, I laughed pretty hard because it was like, I normally will like send you pictures of watches, like of guys wearing and be like, what's this guy wearing? Or, you know, like you'll tell me what people were wearing because you recognize them. But the fact that he picked out a smartwatch and you were like, what the hell? Yeah, it was pretty fantastic because you're right. They do very much all look the same.
Yeah, well, you know, this is going to sound awful. I didn't think anyone cared that much. Just kidding.
Mostly. Yeah. Well, that was great. You didn't look overly impressed with the Rolex face. That was pretty funny. I'm pretty sure Dick did that just for you.
I'm sure he did. Yeah. I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
That was painful. That part, I would rather a smartwatch. I'd rather his dick face one.
Yeah, him and his dick face.
Yeah.
All right. Well, another great segment of Smartwatch Dick. Once again, you can find him here every week and look for his content on WatchDNA as well coming up. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, moving on. We have a guest this week. I think we should bring him in and introduce him and start chatting. All right, everyone. So today we're bringing on someone who isn't just making watches, he's building small universes. Tyler is the founder of Worden Watch Studio, a brand that treats watches less like traditional timepieces and more like wearable sculpture. Bold geometry, color, storytelling, and limited drops that feel more like art releases than product launches. If you've ever felt like the watch world can be a little too safe, a little too heritage heavy, or a little too predictable, this is going to be a really interesting conversation. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. I hope I got that all right.
Oh yeah, you nailed it.
Perfect.
And as someone whose wife owns a Worden Via Negativa, can confirm everything that was said in that. It's I was gonna wear it, but she basically said you can't wear that watch because I don't want people to think it's yours. Like, I'm not allowed to lay claim to that watch in any way, shape, or form. I was allowed to take photos for the show with it, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm not allowed to touch it.
That's
Little
great.
territorial.
Yeah, but
You
you
are
get
wearing
the
your
hat,
hat
though.
today, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I literally was like, here, you could take pictures with it, and now it's gone away again. It's back in her watch box.
That's good. I'm glad she's liking it and enjoying it.
Yeah, she does. And you know what? This is going to sound funny, but and when you see the paired with the heart on the dial and in the bright red strap, and my wife can pull off, a bright red lipstick. It's just the perfect, she dresses it up proper. It's a fun watch, man.
That's right. And if I remember correctly, you got it for her for Mother's Day gift, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She likes it. So yeah.
We first met Tyler last year at the Vancouver Timepiece Show, and that's where Jordan and his wife fell in love with the watches, and we had some great conversations. So yeah, she's loving her Worden watch. I hear about it all the time. I get wrist shots sent to me too all the time. So it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember when you guys popped by my booth, my little table, just when I was getting started. I think I was only like 3 or 4 months into really getting up and running, and that was my first big show too.
Okay. Yeah. That was our first
you
watch show,
represented,
too.
man. You represented your brand so well. Like, it's,
Thank you.
you definitely made fans of us.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a big trip over too, right? Because I'm here in Guelph, Ontario, and so I had to bring over my all the equipment, all of the displays, all the watches, and make sure I didn't forget anything. But you show up prepared, and things work out.
Yeah, that's great.
Now,
we start
is that
all of our episodes, Tyler, with a wrist check. So I was just going to ask you today if what you might be wearing on your wrist today.
Today I'm wearing the Sunny Side, so it's the most recent edition, and this one's extra cool because this was done in collaboration with a international artist, and he hand paints the strap there, and he actually designed picked the colors, decided the theme, but we worked together to make it all work.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been enjoying seeing the pictures you've been posting and kind of leading up to all of this, and it's exciting to see it around your wrist. It looks great. It's great yellow.
Yeah, it really pops. What are you guys wearing?
Today I'm wearing a Christopher Ward 12 in purple. The truth is, I'm honestly wearing this watch. This is going to sound terrible or weird, but because it matches my shirt. That's the truth. I'm a big
awesome.
Owen Hart, I was a big Owen Hart fan, but also, threw on the shirt. I was like, oh, this watch matches good. I'll put this on today. So that's.
And I'll be honest, I got a new watch this week. I got a Momentum Quartz solar watch this week. Just kind of the throwback to the original Magnum PI watch. Plus I love orange, and I've been looking at this one for a long time, and something came along where I had an opportunity to grab one, so I did. And so I've been wearing this watch the last few days, so I've been really enjoying it. Plus I love all things orange. Yeah.
With the rubber strap?
Yeah, I did get it with the bracelet and the rubber strap, but I'll be honest, I wanted the orange strap on right now. I'm a big fan of orange on watches, so that's kind of my thing right now. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. So I don't know, Jordy, if you want to start, we definitely want to, dive into some questions here for you and talk about what you're doing at Worden Watch Studio and talk about your brand and highlight what's going on. Jordy, if you kind of want to kick off.
Well, I just want to me, we very few of us in the watch community get to talk to a guy like, Tyler, that's, just kind of right at releasing a watch. So what does it even feel like? I mean, you've released a few watches now. What does it feel? Is it more exciting with each launch? Is it kind of, I think I would be fool if I asked you if it gets humdrum, because I think that's I think that'd be the dumbest question in the league, to be honest. But what's it like launching? Is it like sort of pushing your kids off to their first day at school? What does that feel like when you're launching a brand, or sorry, when you're launching a watch?
Yeah, it's a big ordeal to like launch a watch, but the way I think about it is I try to ratchet up with each launch. So I learn all that I could from the last one. All right, what can we do differently this time? And I make sure to it's like a proper step change up in terms of marketing and quality and communication and what can I do differently next time. So the feeling is always exciting because I'm always trying to push the limit on each drop.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, no, I guess that's the thing. Hey, is you sort of because it's a lot of it's trial and error when you're breaking in, especially with marketing, right? You sort of cast a wide. It's sort of got to be a shotgun approach, and when you're designing, because a lot as part of somebody that watches a lot of microbrands and a lot of microbrand pages, when you're designing, how broad of a spectrum do you sort of think you have to cast your net? Because I know when you hear watch people, they really expect certain microbrands to cater to their specific needs. And in my head, I'm always thinking, how do you market somebody, somebody like yourself that is releasing, what I consider to be wrist art? How do you think to market that as a broad-based thing, or hey, this is going to be a niche market that really, are going to love these pieces?
Right. It's totally niche. Like I'm not trying to break into the diver's watch market or the pilot's watch genre, I guess you could call it. But I'm more going towards just like these art watches, design forward. And so instead of trying to cast a broad net to grab a bunch of people, I'm actually trying to pinpoint and hone in on like those designers, the design or the aesthetically inclined people in the watch industry, even the ones who are like a little bit adjacent to the watch industry, who are more into accessories. And so that's where my niche is.
Yeah, because
When you're working on a watch, oh, sorry, just going to jump in. I just have one quick question.
Sorry.
Like, what do you find to be like maybe the most not frustrating, but maybe the most challenging process? Like, or maybe the part that you enjoy the most? Is it the design? Is it the manufacturing? Is it the marketing? Sitting down talking to guys like us, about your products, or would you rather be in the back, drawing?
Right. Yeah. Personally, I got really into making this watch studio because of all the different aspects that I can be doing. So whenever I get bored of, let's say, designing, I can focus on the marketing. And then when I get bored of the marketing, I can focus on the community aspect, and then come back to maybe the really dry, the businessy side of it. And so by keeping always changing, then every day doesn't feel dull. But if I were to pick one thing, what I really enjoy is designing the themes that keep coming out. Because that's where I can really pour in all of my creative knowledge, and that's where I have the most freedom, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, just for, all of us that are still getting to know you, what is your background? Like sort of what got you into watch design?
Right. Well, when I was a kid, like I'd be building all sorts of stuff. Like I couldn't afford this like iPod dock speaker system that was made by Apple, and I really liked it. So what I did was I built a speaker box, and I bought the little dock, and I manufactured or repurposed some other speakers and created this thing myself. I'm like 12, and so right.
Skills.
And like building bikes too, like I built those up. Anyways, after high school, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I just started to go out into the world. I lived in Montreal for a bit. I went traveling, and eventually I was in Europe, and a friend of mine told me about industrial design. and I didn't know anything about it. And most people don't even know about what industrial design is, but um, it's designing products, like the everyday products, like the microphones that are in front of you guys. Like those were designed by an industrial designer. Anything that's
Okay.
mass manufactured at like high scale. And so I took the rest of the summer to like think about, well, maybe that might be something that I would want to get into. And sure enough, I decided that this was the path that I wanted to pursue, not even knowing what I would want to do on the other side of the university degree, but I just knew that there was something there for me. And so I completed 4 years of school at Carleton University in Ottawa, and graduated with the industrial design degree. And I did some internships, and they were good, but they weren't exactly what I wanted, especially because I wasn't able to apply my own like creative thinking and design to a lot of the work. It was very predetermined, I guess.
Right.
And and so
Here's an idea designed to that kind of an idea.
yeah, it was the
Okay.
constraints were quite strong. And then so while I was like to bring it back a little bit, when I graduated university, I was going to get a graduation watch for myself. And I didn't know too much about watches at the time, but I started digging and doing lots of research, probably as you guys have done too, with, like digging into all the different brands out there and like all the different models, seeing like where should I put my hard-earned cash, right? Or like my next watch purchase. And what happened was I came out of that like 3.5, 4 months later saying, there's nothing that really speaks to me. And I'm 32, like I'm a millennial. The uh, like the divers and the nostalgia pieces and the chronographs, they're great. But I didn't grow up with James Bond or Steve McQueen or anything like that. So I just felt like there was like this underserved part of the market, and I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I can design a watch for myself, and if I can make a one-off prototype of the watch, and I like it, and other people like it, well, then maybe I can make 2, and 3, and 4, and that's basically how I got to where I am now.
Nice.
That's
Nice. So
awesome.
so it's essentially, like you say, you knew you had an idea what you wanted to do, or what kind of what you wanted to pursue, and then found your practical application to it afterwards. Which is which is pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Well, I love that your search for a watch led you to where you are now. Like, had you found a watch that maybe you'd liked, who knows what you maybe would have ended up doing, like, or if you would have just been like, I'll take that watch. Like, I'm going to pick something. So that's pretty neat to be like, no, it's just none of these are really speaking to me, because I know what it's like to also have an itch for a watch and sometimes be like, well, maybe I'll grab something because I have the itch.
Right. Yeah, who knows what would have happened if I'd found the right thing. Maybe I would have just been like, this is great, and then moved on and never even
Yeah.
thought about designing watches.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You kind of touched a little bit earlier on the creative part of the designing the watch. Is there an idea? Is there something that you've been working on, but you just can't figure out how to get that idea into a watch?
Something I've been working on that that's still like in my mind. I haven't even really started to get it out there onto paper because I'm still mulling it over, is a smaller watch. Watch that's like maybe 30% smaller than this one, and then that way I'll have the big watch and a small watch to accommodate all the wrist sizes. But the real challenge is doing the bracelet, because the bracelet is it's sometimes brands will like put a bracelet onto a watch, and it's kind of like doesn't feel really integrated, or it feels a bit disjointed. Maybe the colors of the metal are different, or the sheen is different, and that drives me a little nuts. I don't think that a watch should ever feel like the bracelet is less than the watch head. And so I haven't
Couldn't
released
agree
it.
with you more. Could not agree more. I'm tired of hearing buy this watch and just think of replacing the bracelet when you buy it. It's like, well, no. So I'm glad to hear someone's
Yeah.
considering that. Yeah, this is all, shouldn't just be integrated on an integrated sports watches. It should be, like you say, part and parcel at every part of every design step along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Why, because especially when you're wearing it, that can totally change the wearing experience. If it's a bad bracelet, then you don't even want to wear the watch. And the worst part is when a watch doesn't feel good and you can't even change out the bracelet for a strap, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where I'm at. Actually, I'll show you. This is a model that I've been like working on for a long time. It's like the fully integrated version. I consider this one to be like the truest essence of the Worden watch brand, with the integrated bracelet and everything. Because what I did was I widened out that strap opening, like the lug opening, to accommodate a 22 millimeter strap. And I quite like the strap models, of course. But to answer your question, Alex, like this is where I'm really taking my time to like design it correctly, because personally I think that it needs some more refinement, but it's getting close.
Yeah, that's
really
under
like
the
that.
heading of take my money, Tyler. That's it right there.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of the 12 like you're wearing.
Yeah, I'm up in that watch right now. You just tell me when and take my money, sir.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I like seeing that. Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a bracelet, even though, like I said, I like putting my watches on rubber straps. There's nothing worse to me than when you get a watch and you're like immediately like, love the watch. Oh, I'm immediately shopping for a new bracelet. That's the worst thing to me. I just think when you slip it on that first time, it takes all the wind out of your sails when the bracelet sucks. It's like you're so excited, you pull it out and you unwrap it and you're like, eh. Yeah. So
So we're looking at you, Seiko and Citizen, directly in the eyes.
I wasn't going to say any names, but
I will. Good Lord. Come on. How are your clasps so terrible? Anyway, sorry.
but Jordan
nice,
and I
great
talked
watches,
about
like,
that.
That's one of my pet peeves.
We talk about the small things. Yeah. We talk about that all the time.
You buy $1,000 watch and no, just don't worry about that terrible bracelet. Just replace it. No, how about you charge me, $10.50 for the watch and put a decent bracelet on it? How about that?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully that shift is happening soon, where brands are taking more, giving more attention to the details of the bracelet, the clasp, case back, even where the bracelet falls. Right? Because a lot of times these integrated bracelets have that flare. I'll just show you, like on mine, like I took a lot of, I put a lot of focus on making sure that bracelet drops straight down so that it can accommodate lots of different wrist sizes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It eliminates the overhang of the case, right? Shortens up, makes the lug width feel shorter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The lug to lug measurement should always be under 50 millimeters to accommodate most wrist sizes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And again, nice to hear it's being considered, because a lot of people, just, slab-sided stuff. I had to be careful what I said there. I almost said a bad word.
Well, and that kind of brings me to one of the questions I have on my list here for you is, do you think the watch world puts too much pressure on buying, the right thing, and instead of actually like what they love, buy this, the popular thing, and I think there's not enough conversations about like buy what you love. There's so much. I hear guys online always like, oh, like they don't want to be judged, buy the cool watch that everyone's like. I'm always looking for the one that everybody doesn't think is cool, most in my opinion. Like, I don't always get there, but I still buy the popular things. But yeah, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, like, you know, I'm a designer and I'm a watch enthusiast, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but like about my opinion on the watch industry. But it seems like there's a lot of dogma about automatic versus quartz, or like expensive watches versus entry level watches, and that sort of stigma there, like, oh, you bought a Tudor, not a Rolex. Oh, and I think that all that dogma is really getting in the way of people just buying the watch that really resonates with them. And like, for example, a lot of people could be a lot happier if they bought a nice quartz watch, because they don't have to, like, the timing is like, it's more accurate most of the time. You can drop it, you can put it beside magnets like speakers and stuff, and it's not gonna get wrecked. And the servicing costs are a lot less, and the upfront cost is a lot less. So that's an example of where I think that people should follow their heart, get what they want, and at the end of the day, like, most people aren't going to even notice what's on your wrist anyways. So it's more about what you like.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I leave
that's,
the
you
house
know,
with a nice watch on a lot of days going, oh, I can't wait till people ask me about this. And no one asks me ever.
Yeah.
So,
actually, if someone asks me about any watch I'm wearing, I'm usually, why would you ask me this? What? You're obviously a weird person. Tell me about your watch problem. You know,
yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, you must have be into watches as well to recognize that.
Yeah, and that to me is one of the cool things about the community, right? Is you sort of bond over those types of things. But, you know, kind of going back to your point, it's one thing I like about micro brands is that a guy like Tyler doesn't have to play it safe. He can, like you say, go out there and pursue what makes you happy, or makes you excited to design and release into the world. And one thing I find, you know, Alex and I both, you know, having become, you know, devout watch enthusiasts over the last few years, is that when I watch channels, you know, and there's a host of them out there, and what I see is okay, let's talk about the top 20 micro brands, and they're all the same top 20 micro brands, and I appreciate those are all good micro brands, and I have nothing negative to say about those, you know, what everyone considers to be maybe the top 20 or whatever micro brands. But it's like, if everybody in the space is talking about those micro brands, they're obviously doing something right. They're obviously getting the name out there. So let's start bringing it up. Who's next? You know, who's next coming up? Who's, you know, where are we going next? Which guy are we bringing up? You know, Tyler, I come from a professional wrestling background. So to me, it's like, okay, Hulk Hogan's the world champion today, but who are we bringing in when Hulk Hogan's time runs up? Who's next? Mm-hmm. So when we got gaps in these micro brand spaces, this is where we need like more people to get, you know, the Worden watches on those radars, because like you say, this, we talk about so much of the same stuff over and over and over and over. And, you know, how many watches can use an NH35 movement? You know, so let's talk about a guy who, when you look down at that watch, it makes you smile, not just because you like the watch or the memory may be attached to it, but, you know, when I'm looking down at that watch today, I'm like, I can see why she doesn't want me to wear this, because I will steal it, right? Like, I'll definitely steal her watch, because the shape of the case is really cool. Like, it's one thing to look at it, but it wears completely differently than it feels on your eyes. It's a weird thing. So, you know, people, don't be married to your round or your tonneau shapes, or, you know, look at guys like at Worden Watches who are doing really fun things with case shapes and dials.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad that the case shape resonates with you so much, because I spent quite a bit of time getting into the nitty gritty, but also simplifying that case shape. And that's actually the connection with the term via negativa, which is the model name that you have. It basically means improvement by reduction. And so when I was designing the case that like is on the via negativa, I had this like big idea of like what I wanted the case to look like. And but when I looked at the sketches, I said to myself, yes, but it's not there yet. It was getting close, but it wasn't there yet. So instead of asking myself, what should I add? I applied the the phrase via negativa, and was like, what can I take away? How can I improve it by reduction, taking stuff away from it? So I started paring everything back. No bezel, right? Square shape with the circle in the middle. That became the new calling card for Worden Watch. It's like the square with the circle in the middle. The glass just like catches the light from like across the room. And then the final piece that I actually added this. Well, in a way, I kind of took it away. But on the Jordan, you obviously know this, and Alex, you probably do too. But there's that that triangle right there,
Yeah.
And I was on the computer doing my CAD modeling, and I cut and I took it away, and I looked at it in the 3D model form, and I said to myself, "That's it, it's done." Click save and walked away because I haven't changed the design of the case significantly ever since.
When
See,
you know, you
that-
know.
Well, and that's the thing is we look at something like if you look around my house, there's a lot of oil paintings, and I always look at a painting and think, when did that person put the last dab on that thing and say, okay, and literally like a dab of paint and say, okay, it's done. And that's always my question is, you probably spent hours and hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours poring over that design to go click, delete, change, save, out, book it. Like,
Yeah, I love that.
Now, does that take a weight off your shoulder at that point?
Definitely,
Yeah.
because then I don't need to worry about getting sidetracked, or I can just move. I have this, and now I can move on to the next thing. It's like when you build a foundation of a house, you say, all right, I'm done with the foundation, and now I can move on to framing it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's super cool. Has anybody, one of you, somebody that's ever purchased your watch, ever shared some thoughts or opinions on how your watch makes them feel that kind of took you aback a little bit or surprised you? Or
I asked a handful of people, like they're like owners of Worden watches, what their experience was with the watch, and just to get some like good feedback. And then something that surprised me that kept coming up was that it made people feel more confident. And I thought, that's an interesting term. And it was verbatim, the word confident, over and over again. And I think that it comes from wearing such a bold piece, but it's small. So it's not like they're wearing like an extravagant pair of pants or a jacket, and they have that confidence. But with something as big and bold and as bright as something like this, or with the red strap on the Via Negativa, they can wear that with pride and elevate their outfit and get a little more confidence.
Yeah. It's a statement without being overstated.
I like that.
Yeah, you can have that. I made that up today.
That's very interesting, because that really just connected with me and made me realize why, maybe I love the orange straps on my watches. And, I'm Iron Maiden black t-shirts. This is who I am for the most part. I have a few things in life that I make statements with. Watches is one of them. And the other one is I have a golf shirt that is white, blue, and pink with flamingos on it. And every time I wear that, I got to be honest with you, it's so funny. I feel confident as well. And that's so unlike me. That's so interesting. That really connected with me in how a watch, and Jordan has said this before, how a nice watch just makes you feel better about yourself, makes you feel more confident.
I agree.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, say I do it, and I don't do it for other people. I do it for me, right? Like I just love putting on my watch and looking down and think. And the other thing is too, I want Worden watches to grow and be everything you want it to be, Tyler. But I also like that, like, man, there's nobody has ever seen something like this. Like, very few people have ever seen a watch like this. So when you do start talking about it, it's, people get very interested very quickly.
I agree. Yeah, and that's what I wanted when I was breaking into the watch world. I said to myself, like, it'd be a disservice to the watch community to make another derivative design. I needed to come out with something that was different and contributing something new to the watch world for that reason.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is even one of the things I appreciate is that you wanted to contribute something different to the watch world, and that was when Alex and I were coming up with this podcast. We were like, "Hey, there's no other podcast or two idiots that don't really know anything about watches sit around to talk about watches, so we should do this." And so at least you had some background to what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm an IT guy by trade, so it makes me feel like I'm good with technology, yet I'm horrible at all this stuff. So,
Yeah.
Well, I think
that's
I
okay.
think it's great because you're given the relatable connection between like a watch enthusiast, right? And then you're interviewing people who are like designers or they're watch brand founders, and then you two are able to bridge the gap and ask those relatable questions that the everyday person is curious about.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and hopefully we're doing some of that because really, I mean, we're just a couple of goobers, to be honest with you. So now, is there a point where you see Worden watches going from Worden Watch? I think the name Studio is very cool, so I hope you never actually lose that. Worden Watch Studio is a really cool name. Is there a point where you will feel like you're not studio or boutique? Is there a level you get to? Is there a volume you'd have to do? Where you say, I'm not a studio or a boutique brand anymore. I'm definitely a full-fledged micro brand or, beyond that. Is there something you look for that way?
Right. That's a really good question. Because there's kind of two options. There's one that you're talking about there where I increase the volume and I increase the business size. I hire on some more people, maybe a marketing department, maybe an operator, maybe even like an apprentice designer, and really take off. But that's not what I want to do
Right.
because then I become like a person who runs a company. The way I kind of think about it is imagine a chef who loves food and loves creating recipes, and then he goes out and he starts his own restaurant. Well, now he's a restaurant owner and he's no longer a chef and he's no longer doing the exciting things that he loved before, like making the recipes and making great food. So the future for Worden Watch Studio is to ideally stay a company of one and continue to make great designs and more themes, more watch cases, but keep the production low and scarce and still doing only like, there's only 10 of these of the sunny side. There's only 10 of the bubblegum, 25 of the Via Negativa. And instead of doing profit with volume, I can do profit with more interesting designs and
Right.
and more interesting materials. And that way, to bring it back to the chef metaphor, I keep getting to make great recipes.
I like that. Well, and it's one of the reasons why. So, Zelos is a micro brand I'm a huge fan of, and when I go on his Zelos Facebook page, El Shantang is like yourself. I don't know how many employees there are there, but when you deal with Zelos watches, you're dealing with it's like dealing with Tyler at Worden, and so often I'll see he'll release a watch and people will go on there and sort of critique his watch and say, I would change this and I would change that, and I you should do this, you should do that. And I actually, and I know I'm not supposed to, I'm the first one to tell you not to, but I get offended for the watch designer. So it's like, if you think you know so much about design, feel free to go out and make your own. Why are you telling this guy? Because I view, when you say you're doing limited batch runs of 10 and 25 of what we call art pieces, for me, art is a small piece of your soul in a way, and it's very hard to put a price on that. So then when somebody comes along and says, hey, they don't recognize that they're looking literally at a piece of your heart and soul. They just see something. They see an inanimate object that you made. And it's like, well, no, that's that person's heart and soul. And for you to think you can just come in and change it or add to it or say, well, I can flagrantly put my own spin on it, I can make it better for you. It's like, I appreciate that, but I also don't need you to tell, I don't know how many art tips Van Gogh took from the people around him,
That's right. If you listen to everyone, then you're just gonna have some bland uh, piece of work in the end. So I'm really, I do take advice from some people, but they're very like they're very choice people that I've picked. There are other creatives who I have like a big admiration for. They're people who I look up to, and people who I don't know on, like, let's say, social media. I just kind of disregard their critiques.
As you should.
Yeah, is that kind of tough to sometimes read stuff on social media? Just off the top of my head here, I'm thinking, like, I mean, we're slowly growing this podcast, and luckily everyone's been pretty kind and nice to us so far. So, but it's got to be tough, like Jordan says, when you put a piece of your soul out there, to sometimes read the comments. I can't imagine that's always the most fun thing to do. Do you avoid it at times?
I wouldn't say I avoid it, but I just knew going into this that it's going to come with the territory. And how I think about it, and this is going to happen with you guys as well soon, is if you are actually succeeding, you're going to have some portion of people that are kind of haters. And just know that for every one of them, there's a handful of supporters that are just cheering you on, loving what you're doing. And like I've said at the beginning of the podcast, like I'm a niche guy, like making niche watches, and of course there's going to be people who don't like them. In fact, maybe even a decent amount of people don't like them, but there's going to be a small portion of people that really like them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And Jordan, I say that all the time too, right? Like, we started this podcast for us. We wanted to be able to, Jordan and I used to live a lot closer to each other. I moved out to BC. This is a way for us to connect over something that we love and share this passion with, our people. We know they're out there, and we're happy to wait and find them and to have them find us. And that's why, we love having these conversations with, we're so excited to have had you on the show. And, as our first guest, like, I love that, this is a big part of our history now too. And, yeah, it's exciting. And I agree with you. You're doing something right if there's people out there hating on you. So just, let them keep their opinions. It just makes me crazy, because I agree. Like, if you're sitting there, saying what you don't like about a watch, like, move on. It's like not for you. There's people that that will, when they find your website, they'll know. And that's the people you're looking for. You're not looking for the ones that, have 6 problems with it. So, because I know when I go to a website, if I don't like something, I'm not going to sit there and waste my time to critique it. It wasn't designed for me.
Literally, as a consumer, the only critique you need to give anything is to not buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't need to go publicly, disrespect it, or, get other people to actively hate it, or, go on there and point out every little, just don't buy it. Move on with the rest of your day. Don't buy it. Continue on. Good talk. I don't understand why people feel the need to, we have a podcast because we know everyone wants to hear our opinions and the opinions of the interesting people we know, like Tyler. No one else wants to hear other people's opinions, just ours and Tyler's. Really.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And they'll stick around, right? And they'll pay attention, and your people will find you, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and exactly. I mean, I honestly think having people like you around, and people like you that are interesting to us, I always, to kind of talk to young people, and I say, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. And I think if we're interested in something, that Worden Watches is doing, I have to assume somebody out there, hopefully, that we can reach would be also interested, and maybe we can, we can all grow together in this community. And I think that, to me, is why we really started this podcast.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just want to hang out with more people that love watches that I can talk to watches about, because my wife is sick of listening to me.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're going to get you out of here pretty soon, Tyler. I got one last question for you here on my list. If someone is listening to this and feels bored with quote unquote safe watches, what's out there, but doesn't quite know what they're looking for yet, what would you want to say to them?
I would say if you haven't found what you're looking for, keep looking, keep researching, and don't be afraid to go into the more affordable watches. I think that sometimes people they think if they want to get a good watch, they got to pay like at least $1,000. Well, there's plenty of really interesting watches under 1,000 as well. And if you just keep digging and you disregard the dogma around all the things I mentioned before, you'll find your watch eventually, or you'll start your own watch brand.
Yeah, as they say, build a better mousetrap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's great.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like Alex said, we'll let you get out of here and get on with the rest of your day, man. We really thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for designing a watch that I personally enjoy as much as I do. This is not a joke. When that watch you just showed us on the screen there is ready for sale, I will be watching all of your releases, because that's going to be that'll be I'll be collecting pop bottles if I have to get the money for that watch.
That's fantastic. And Jordan, I want to thank you again for being one of my earliest supporters at the show when you bought the watch. And Alex, you guys both came up to my booth and were so supportive, so encouraging. And if I do have some haters out there, I remember that there was people like you that were just cheering me on right from the get-go, 3.5 months into my watchmaking journey. So thanks again for the support then, and for bringing me onto the podcast now.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It was such a great time getting to know you then, and it's been so much fun getting to know you better over the last almost year here. And whatever we can do, if you ever want to come on and give us sneak peeks at things or share stuff out there, you're always welcome. Before we let you go, please make sure you tell everyone how to find you, any information on anything you got coming up, releases that you might want to promote, anything that you want to talk about. Please feel free to go ahead and do that.
Sounds good. Yeah. I'm on Instagram, Worden.watch with an O, WORDEN. My DMs are open. I respond to everyone. I love yapping and chatting watches. If you're just curious about what I'm up to, or you have questions, just send me a message. I also have a website, WardenWatch.com. And I do have a upcoming release. I'm going to keep it pretty low key. But it's going to be happening in April. So follow me on Instagram. Stay tuned. This one's going to be pretty interesting. Actually, I will tell one thing. It's got it has a rubber strap.
Oh,
interesting. Okay, because I've seen you with the bright red leather, the hand painted, the chain mail, now rubber. Interesting. New materials.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a rubber that you cut to length, so there's no tail.
Ooh.
It's really cohesive, and I love it.
This is the first Watch You Talkin About exclusive, so we're very excited.
That's right. I haven't told anyone about this yet.
Wow! Oh,
big
man.
scoop.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks again, Tyler. We appreciate everything. And it was a great chat.
It was. Thank you for having me.
And slow down, we're out of time. Same watch talk next time.